This narrow and mournful place they inhabit, slaves accumulate the commodities that, according to the omnipresent advertising, will guarantee happiness and fulfillment. Alas, the more commodities they accumulate, the more elusive happiness becomes. Commodities, ideological by nature, estranged from his work he who produces them, and divorced from his life he who consumes them. In the dominant economic system, demand no longer drives supply. It is supply which determines demand. New needs are periodically manufactured and hence considered essential by most people. It began with the radio, followed by the automobile, later the television set, the computer, and now the cell phone. All these commodities, massively distributed over a brief period of time, profoundly alter human relationships. They serve to isolate human beings from their fellow creatures, while at the same time they propagate the dominant messages of the system. Everything we possess will in turn possess us. It is in the way in which the modern slave feeds himself that better illustrates his degree of decay. With little time to spare for the preparation of his sustenance, he is reduced to consuming quick meals produced by the agrochemical industry. He wanders through supermarkets looking for the ersatz that the Society of False Abundance offers. Once again, his choice is nothing but an illusion. The abundance of food as a commodity is evidence of its degradation and falsification. It is nothing more than genetically modified organisms, a mix of colorants and preservatives, of pesticides, hormones, and other inventions of modernity. Immediate gratification is the motivation behind how a slave chooses to feed himself. This is the motivating factor for all forms of consumption. The consequences are everywhere evident. However, it is when faced with the indigence of the majority that the Westerner can rejoice in his position of privilege and frenetic consumption. As a consequence, misery is ubiquitous in a totalitarian mercantile society. Scarcity is the other face of the false abundance coin. Despite the ample supply produced by the agrochemical industry, in a system where inequality means progress, hunger must not disappear ever. The other consequence of the alleged food abundance is the multiplication of concentration factories and the massive and barbarous extermination of species for the sustenance of the enslaved. That is the essence of the dominant mode of production. Life and humankind cannot withstand the thirst for profit of a few. The pillage of the planet's resources, the massive production of energy or commodities, the waste products of the ostentatious consumption, jeopardize the possibilities of survival for our planet and the species which inhabit it. However, in order to pave the way for brutal capitalism, the growth must continue. Produce, produce, and keep producing. Those who contaminate are today misrepresenting themselves as the saviors of the planet. Those show business buffoons, sponsored by multinational firms, try to convince us that a simple change in our habits will be enough to save the planet from disaster. And while they blame us, they keep on contaminating the environment and our souls. Those poor pseudo-ecological views are repeated by corrupt politicians in need of advertising slogans. Those in charge take pains to avoid making significant change in the production system, and as always, change is half-hearted and superficial. Things remain as they are and have always been.